You are listening to the Maple Footy Podcast. This is the unofficial football podcast of the North. I'm your host, Sam Little. Find me at official Sam Little on Instagram. There's nothing left to say except for sit back, enjoy, and welcome to the show.
Hello, yes, welcome back to another episode of the Maple Footy Podcast, the unofficial football podcast of the North, and yeah, another weekend of Prem action in the books, guys. Can we believe it? 10 weeks down, 28 to go. And before, of course, in Maple Footy tradition, before we start, let us get into the Maple Start, I think I'm going to call it. The Maple Start, where I'm going to look at Canadian players over the weekend and let us talk just a little bit about them. I'll try not to take up too much of the Prem's time, but of course, first and foremost, CPL playoffs. If you haven't listened to my full in-depth episode of that, I do implore you to go check it out. I've really enjoyed covering it. One more left, as the final will be played between Forge and Cavalry on Saturday, so please definitely watch that game. Check out the podcast. Very, very good stuff there. And if you're in the real CPL mood, the CPL Awards will be held on Thursday. You can watch that on CBC, or of course, I believe One Soccer and Fubo are showing it. I could be totally wrong there, but I'm 99% sure they are. But CBC definitely showing it on the CBC Gem app. And yes, looking at it, you can watch it on One Soccer and Fubo. So definitely, if you do feel so inclined to do so, definitely watch it. And definitely watch the final. It will be a good game. Last year's game was great between Cavalry and Forge in the final. So this year, I'm expecting more of the same. And hopefully the same winner. And let us look at some other Canadians that are currently in playoffs. Take a bow, Dane St. Clair of Minnesota United. You beauty. Oh my gosh, what a playoff he's had so far. He had a great first leg and now a great second leg for Minnesota. Came up big in the penalty shootout and had some insane aura to go with it. So definitely take a friggin' bow, Dane St. Clair, Canada's current number 2, but for all intents and purposes, definitely really knocking on the door of Jesse Marsh's office to go, hey, I'm a pretty quality number 1 as well if you want to give me a try. So now he and fellow Canadian international Tani Oluwaseyi will be playing in the semi-finals of the MLS playoffs, and just massive congrats and wish them nothing but the best of luck going into those games. It will definitely be, hopefully, a Canadian winning that trophy at the end of it all. And hey, who knows, maybe it will be Dane St. Clair and Tani Oluwaseyi. Looking at some other Canadians in that playoff for the MLS Cup, of course, the Vancouver Whitecaps beat LAFC 3-0 to push that game into the third game of the best of 3 series. Big win for the Whitecaps, keeping themselves alive against a team of LAFC's quality. Just massive once again. Best of luck to them. Ali Ahmed, Sam Adekubi, our Canadian international representatives there. Of course, some other Canadians there as well. Ralph Prizzo, former TFC boy, for any TFC fans out there. And yeah, just a couple of Canadians in there. Raposo as well. Can't forget him. Isaac Boehmer. And I'm sorry if I'm missing out on anybody else, but Brian Gold, I think, was a star of the show as per usual for the Whitecaps, clutching up for them when they needed their captain, they needed their star man to do something, and do something he definitely did. Gets the first goal, and then is instrumental in one of the 2 own goals that LAFC did score. But yeah, definitely, even though it was 3-0 with 2 own goals, it was not undeserved. Big congrats to the Whitecaps pushing this one to the 3rd game. And once again, much like for Dane St. Clair and Tani Oluwaseyi, nothing but the best of luck, boys. Moving across the water, let's take a look at Celtic. Alistair Johnston got another goal. Give this guy the number 9 shirt. Come on. 3 minutes into coming on the pitch over the weekend, Alistair Johnston found the net for the 4th time this season. That's 4 goals and I believe, off the top of my head, 3 assists on the season for him. Let me check his stats real quick. I do believe that I am right. Sorry, 2 assists, 4 goals. I was very, very close. But yeah, it's a crucial win that keeps Celtic at the top of the table on goal difference, as Aberdeen is really, really trying to push them, as they're tied. Obviously, if they're separated by goal difference, they're tied on points. Moving to Junior Hoylett's Hibernian. They drew 1-1 against Dundee United. Junior Hoylett started the game but did not end it. Of course, coming off in the 91st minute, he'll be trying to get potentially into Jesse Marsh's team, unless perhaps maybe conversations have been held that would indicate otherwise. But I would love to see him coming back into the Canadian fold. I mean, I know getting up there a little bit in age, but definitely still a lot to offer our men's national team. And so one final thing for the Scottish boys. Celtic plays RB Leipzig tomorrow in the Champions League, so hopefully Celtic can replicate the result on the weekend, and best of luck to Alistair Johnston in that aspect. Sorry, I did forget to mention that when I was talking about them just 35 seconds ago. But moving into Portugal with Porto. Stefan Eustáquio, congratulations. Big goal for him in the Taça de Liga. My Portuguese is not great, but essentially their version of, if we're putting this into Premier League perspective, their FA Cup or Carabao Cup. But yeah, big goal for him, first of the season, and he got the Man of the Match award in that game. Then over the weekend, he played in the league where Porto did win 4-0, and he came off the bench. So we love seeing our vice captain get some minutes and get a big goal, definitely, and a big Man of the Match award. So long may it continue for him. And I believe that they have some European action coming up as well against Lazio on Thursday in the Europa League. So much like with Alistair Johnston, all the best to Stefan Eustáquio in Porto going into that match. Now moving into the French league, where we have it feels like a million Canadians in there. We've got Theo Bair started, didn't score sadly, so nothing to report there, but did start for Auxerre as they won 4-0, a big win for them as well. Brings them well out of that relegation zone. They move up to 10th. 3 points off the relegation zone, of course, but still, position-wise, well off the bottom there. Lille stay in 4th with a big win for them coming in the weekend, and grass is green, sky is blue. Jonathan David, you score a penalty again, and it's a big penalty as it came in the 98th minute to win them the game. He put them up 1-0, and then 3 minutes later, they got some insurance as they scored again in the 90th plus 11. But yeah, big for Jonathan David, big for Lille, and my goodness, getting Jonathan David on a free for someone is going to be insane. Moving in with Nice, Moise Bombito. How did he do this weekend, you may ask? He did very good. They won as well. And Bombito got a lot of praise for his performance. I, of course, wasn't able to watch it, but he got a lot of praise. The Nice faithful are absolutely loving this guy. Like, seriously, go on socials anytime Bombito's playing for Nice, and they can't believe that they got a player of his quality for, in footballing terms, such a cheap amount of money. And that is kind of what we love to see, isn't it? And our final Canadian-French team, Marseille, sitting second in the league, 6 points behind league leaders PSG, but they did get a big win on the weekend. Neil Maupay getting the first goal and some other guy getting the second goal. Don't feel like acknowledging him. But Derek Cornelius came on at halftime. Not even halftime, sorry, my bad. Coming in the 70th minute, but then left about 17 minutes later with an apparent upper body injury. I haven't seen any reports on anything, if it's serious, if it's not serious. I really hope it's not. He's really coming into his own, and I think it would be so cruel to see him go down with an injury at this moment. But Ishmael Kone did make his first start in a long little while, so that is very good to see. And if you are a Canadian looking for something to watch next weekend, we actually have basically 2 Canadian derbies going on. On Friday, Marseille, so Kone and Cornelius will be taking on Auxerre, Theo Bair, and Nice and Lille will be taking each other on Sunday. So Nice, Bombito, and Lille, Jonathan David. So some mini Canadian derbies, I guess you could say, going on in that aspect. Rounding things out with Alphonso Davies and Bayern Munich. Alphonso Davies attracting a lot of attention from a certain red club in the Premier League that plays in Manchester, but obviously Real Madrid are still there. Another one, much like Jonathan David, who could be going for free if obviously contracts aren't signed. But yeah, Bayern Munich, routine 3-0 win over Union Berlin. Alphonso Davies played and had a very good game. So next they play Benfica in the Champions League, and yeah, we, much like our other boys in European competitions, we wish him the absolute best. Tejan Buchanan for Inter Milan remained on the bench for the 3rd match in a row, so really hoping that he does get some minutes very, very soon. Working so hard to come back from that injury so quickly. It would be a shame if he just now worked that hard to just remain on the bench. I really do hope that Inter does give him a shot sooner rather than later. But one final thing on our Canadian boys. They've now opened up training camp for the the Nations League games against Suriname, and have mainly listed boys that seasons are over. So I assume these guys are kind of in the hunt for some national team spots in these matches, and this is kind of keep their fitness up. So some notable guys, obviously Crepeau, Larea, Jaquil Marshall-Ruddy, Kobe Franklin, Joel Waterman, Kamal Miller back into the fold. Hopefully he gets the full call up and we see him against Suriname. Adam Perlman of TFC, Raheem Edwards, Montreal, Jonathan Osorio, Nathan Saliba, Samuel Piette, Biello of Montreal, Bassong of Kansas City, Afrifa of Kansas City, DeAndre Kerr, and a big call, Shola Jima of York United. Massive. 16 years old, only just signed his first professional contract this year, and has since taken the CPL a little bit by storm, and I think Canadian supporters by storm. So I think this is massive for him. If you aren't hearing some names of some of your favorites, fret not, because I do believe that we will be seeing a lot of them get called up as well, as there was no official post made. This is from some Canadian sources that I have found. No, this is from some Canadian accounts, but not the men's national team or Canada Soccer accounts on social media. So I don't think this is the solidified roster. I do think that we will see a lot of changes, but like I said, I think these are guys that are currently in Marsh's kind of plans perhaps, and he wants to see how they kind of maybe play in the training camp and maybe get themselves a full call up for these games against Suriname. But now, with the Canada spiel, the Maple start done, let's kind of get into why you're here at the Prem recap. You guys know the drill, of course. Match of the weekend, biggest winners, biggest underperformers, best performance, moment of the weekend, relegation zone, European places, and title race. So, match of the weekend. Who are we going to say? I think I'm going to go with Bournemouth and Manchester City because it was a pretty shocking result, I would say. I don't think many people would have thought that Bournemouth were going to beat Man City, but beat them they do. Massive, massive win for Bournemouth and a big blow for Manchester City. Obviously, still lots of time in the campaign, but I think this is kind of showing that Manchester City aren't the same without Rodri. I think they've looked different ever since Rodri came out of the side, obviously due to injury. And by the way, congratulations to Rodri on winning the Ballon d'Or. I don't think I have done an episode since he had won that contained Prem content, so we'll congratulate him if I haven't. I don't think I have. But yeah, no, I think it's a big blow for City. And Bournemouth, though, like what form are they in right now? Because really kicking on from last season and just playing really well. Manager's got them playing great. He got himself a Manager of the Year nomination last year, and if he keeps this up, he will find himself with another one at the end of the season. They sit in 10th. Manchester City now slumped down to 2nd in the league. Moving into our biggest winners of the weekend, for about the 82nd weekend in a row, it feels like. I think one of them has got to be Liverpool. As of the kind of challenging three that you would have expected come the start of the season, Liverpool are the ones that won. Arsenal and City both lose, of course, whereas Liverpool beat, perhaps maybe not super convincingly, but beat Brighton, as they did come from 1-0 down, and within 2 minutes of the first goal for Liverpool being scored, they were then up 2-1. And once again, as I've said so many times with Liverpool, that is what championship caliber teams do. Maybe they're not playing the best. Maybe the result perhaps shouldn't be going their way. Maybe it doesn't look like it's going their way, but they still get the 3 points. And a side note, Abraham Konate went off hurt at halftime. Hopefully nothing serious for him. I absolutely despise injuries, but of course they are part of the game. But still, I do hope that he doesn't have anything serious. But yeah, I think it's great fighting spirit from Liverpool to kind of come back. And like I said, within 120 seconds, they found themselves from 1-0 down to 2-1 up. And Brighton, I think, will kind of feel like they probably should have saw this one out a bit better. They went up in the 14th minute, and until the 70th minute, hadn't conceded at all. And like I said, then you could have played a song in the time that they had went down. But yeah, no, it's pretty bad for them. And another big winner of the weekend, I would say, is Nottingham Forest, sitting 3rd in the Premier League at the moment, because who would have thought that at the start of the season? Ola Aina, Callum Hudson-Odoi, Chris Wood, all contributing to the 3-0 win. Of course, each of them getting the goal. Edson Alvarez of West Ham gets sent off, and the turmoil continues for West Ham. How much longer will their manager be in a job once again? Never wanting someone to lose their job, but yeah, just the writing really does feel on the wall at the moment. West Ham not with it, but Nottingham Forest 100% are. Congratulations to them. I hope their fans are enjoying every second of this, and I would love to see Nottingham Forest in around this position come the end of the season as well, because I always love seeing someone different, and especially someone so unexpected to kind of come in and win, not just win, but be in 3rd place. And our final kind of big winner of the weekend, I will have to say, and it does kill me a little bit, I think I have to say Tottenham. It's always nice to see a small club beat one of the big boys, and that is what happened here. Tottenham convincingly beat Aston Villa 4-1. Morgan Rogers put Aston Villa up in the 32nd minute. Then after halftime, Brennan Johnson gets one. Dominic Solanke gets 2 in quick succession in the 75th and 79th. And then James Mason, icing on the cake, makes it 4-1 in the 96th minute, having come off the bench only a few minutes before. So, like I said, just nice to see one small club beating a big club. And I think this is a bit of a blow for Aston Villa, who have been in pretty fine form recently. They still find themselves in and around those European places, of course, but this really pushes Tottenham up there just a little bit. going up to 7th place, just 2 points off of that 4th place spot. So yes, it is a very big win for Tottenham. Moving into biggest underperformers, I think you could probably say a few, but I think I'm going to have to go with, drumroll, yeah, it's Man City. As I've kind of already touched upon for them in Bournemouth, haven't looked the same without Rodri, and it's showing. It's really showing. No De Bruyne, obviously, as well. Haaland is finding a little bit less joy. I do still think he's had a great season so far. But, yeah, just a lot of their players just not playing to how well you would want them to. Foden's been a pretty non-factor all season. Kovacic has stepped in for Rodri pretty well when he's had to, but just isn't on that Rodri level. Gvardiol, Ake, Akanji, and Walker are all looking pretty decent, but not superb. Bernardo Silva not looking at his best either. And then of course you got Kevin De Bruyne, who's kind of been in and out with injury. He was on the bench for this game, but didn't come on. And yeah, I think it's just kind of a recipe for looking a little bit average by City standards. So we'll kind of see what happens with them. Once again, still only 2 points off of Liverpool, of course. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see how Pep kind of reorganizes this City team, because I think he's not getting the best out of some of the best players that he had last season. So something to watch, I would say. Make it a little bit interesting. Best performance of the weekend time now, and I think you could definitely say a few guys here. Firstly, Dominic Solanke of Tottenham. Big performance from him. Definitely be very pleased with himself, as he kind of had a little bit of a slow start to life at Tottenham, but has now kind of really eased into it. 2 goals here, and that brings him to how many on the season? 4 goals on the season, so definitely still room to improve a little bit there, but the signs are all there for him to kind of start kicking on. Brennan Johnson as well, loving this little spell of form for Brennan Johnson, as he's kind of got himself 4 goals in the Premier League this season. So really loving that for both of them. I mean, not as a Chelsea fan, but it is nice to see Dominic Solanke carrying his form from Bournemouth. I know, slow start a little bit, but yeah, showing all the signs that he's starting to pick up that form once again. Another performance that really impressed me was, once again, going back to Bournemouth. It's got to be Semenyo, instrumental in that City win, and gets himself the first goal. Just had a great game overall, really holds the ball up well. Always looking to push forward and create some chances. Just so dangerous, and you love to see these players kind of emerging, as he came into Bournemouth last January. So really feels like we're really starting to see the best of him this season. He's had a very solid start to the season so far. So let's hope he kicks on and continues that. And it wouldn't be a Maple Footy episode without me getting a little bit of a Chelsea mention in here, because I thought Moises Caicedo was brilliant for Chelsea on the weekend, and I really hope mainstream media kind of really picks up on the fact that he has been one of the best performers in the league this season. I don't think I'm being hyperbolic. I know only 10 games in, anything can happen going forward, but so far to this point, he has been one of the best performers this season. He's been great all over the pitch. Against Manchester United on the weekend, he was very, very good. Obviously gets that goal, which was greatly taken by him, by the way. Great goal. But outside of that, was just covered so much ground, dispossessed anybody and everybody. I love watching him in tight spaces too, because he finds a way to dribble out. There was a couple instances in the game where he was surrounded by 2 or 3 United players, and you go, surely he's not getting out of it. And then he would. Surely he's not, and he does. So this is the Moises Caicedo that I think Chelsea bought, and it just shows that give these guys time and patience, and, maybe they do develop into a pretty good player. And that's, I think, exactly what's happened with Caicedo. Special player, and just a very good performance from him. And, yeah, we kind of love to see it. Moving into our next segment here with the moment of the weekend. And once again, wouldn't be a Maple Footy episode without me mentioning Reece James. Moment of the weekend. He goes another 90. Hopefully that's a positive sign, but it does give me a little bit of concern having been injured for on and off for so long to watch him go back-to-back 90s in two very highly intense games. It does make me bite my nails just a little bit, but we'll stick on the bright side. I'm just glad that Reece James is playing football. I've told so many people, I just love watching the way he plays. He looked pretty rusty in this game, probably the rustiest he's looked since coming back in the 3 games that he's played. But obviously those cobwebs will shake given he continues to play, and I'm knocking on wood right now, quite literally. You can hear me tapping, I'm sure. That's me knocking on wood. But the real, I would say, moment of the weekend actually comes technically on Monday night because it is actually Fulham. Harry Wilson. Where did this come from? 1-0 down in the 92nd minute, Harry Wilson grabs a goal to surely equalize the game and get Fulham the point. No. Harry Wilson then 5 minutes later gets another goal to win the game for Fulham. Absolute limbs in that Fulham stadium. And these are the reasons we watch football, guys. These are the reasons, because Harry Wilson just decided to lock in, I guess. His first goal is a bit of a neat one. It kind of just hits off of him and doesn't even deflect and just loops in over the keeper. Then the second one is a great headed opportunity, and it's a great ball from Robinson as well, the American left back. So yeah, I mean, how could that not be the moment of the weekend? Like I said, 1-0 down and then 2-1 up within literal minutes, and that's exactly why we love this sport. And I mean, those are the moments where you kind of look and you just get chills, you know what I mean? Even though you're not like a Fulham fan, or maybe, hey, if you're a Fulham fan listening to this, thank you. But even if you're not a Fulham fan, those are just the moments that you love, you know what I mean? You just love those moments. But now moving into our next topic, relegation zone. Yeah, some usual suspects here. Everton, just 4 points off the zone. Palace, 2 points off. And then Ipswich, Southampton, Wolves all in it. I maintain and am holding strong that Wolves do turn this around. I've been saying it all season, so I can't turn my back on them now. They actually play Southampton next in the league for a battle for bottom of the league. But yeah, no, Southampton get a big win over Everton over the weekend. 1-0. That's Southampton's first win of the season. So that just means Ipswich and Wolves are now the two teams that don't have a win this season. Ipswich, of course, have the 5 draws, which keeps them above Southampton. And then Wolves have 3 draws, so no wins there. And then Ipswich, as I've kind of been saying, I would love to see Ipswich stay up. I'm not sure it's going to happen. But they do get a pretty big 1-1 draw with Leicester. So we'll see how that plays out. Crystal Palace, who are just above the relegation zone, who's kind of like Wolves. I do kind of expect them to turn this around. But they played Wolves, ironically enough, in a 2-2 draw, as Wolves went up 2-1. And then 5 minutes later, Mark Gurhey comes in big. Yeah, 2 Chelsea boys, actually. Looking at the Palace score, Trevor Chalobah on loan from Chelsea. Big 17 minutes in that game. Chalobah scores in the 60th, and then Wolves score 7 minutes later, and then 5 after that. And then 5 after that, Palace equalizes for the final time. So, yeah, I mean, relegation can go either way. I still think that Southampton, I just don't see it with them as much. I would love for Ipswich to stay up. I'm not sure they will either. So then I think that just really leaves a third spot. Perhaps it is Wolves, and I'm just wrong and have been feeding you the wrong information all year, where I think that they will turn this around. But enough about relegation. Let's talk European spots. Europe, everyone wants it. Who's going to get it? Right now, at the moment, a lot of teams are pushing for it. So looking at it, Fulham, Brighton, Tottenham, Villa, Arsenal, Chelsea, and Nottingham Forest, sorry, that was a lot of teams, are all just 5 points in and around a 5-point gap of each other, where from 3rd to 9th, so it's, 4-point gap, I can't do math, that's crazy, 4-point gap, my bad, of each other, obviously points varying between the teams, but yeah, anywhere between a 4-point to 1-point gap between them all, and yeah, European places are really heating up. I mean, Arsenal, who we thought would be title contenders, and giving Arsenal a little bit of slack, they still could be because we are only 10 games into the season, but at the moment, kind of now lumping them in with the herd of European contenders instead of potentially title contenders. But yeah, still a lot of time for them to turn around and become title contenders. But yeah, Chelsea, Forest, Villa, who would have thought? I mean, I thought Chelsea would be here. Some people I know thought Chelsea may be here, but no real mainstream people thought Chelsea would be here. I'm okay that they're here because obviously more success for Chelsea means I'm happier. They're currently occupying that 4th spot. Of course, Forest in 3rd. Once again, would love to see Forest maintain that. Aston Villa just outside of it. Tottenham, Brighton, Fulham, all just outside of it. As well as actually Bournemouth and Newcastle, both also just in around that 4-point range that we're kind of looking at here. But yeah, European spots, it's all up in the air at the moment, isn't it? Is kind of the point I guess I'm making. And looking at the title race, Liverpool, City currently leading the pack by some distance. Forest, who are in 3rd, are off City by 4 points, and then City are off of Liverpool by 2. So I think it's a big title race. I think that we can expect for this season and have been expecting since the Prem kicked off all those weeks ago. But yeah, Liverpool, I think, will be the most happy of the title race, boys, between them and City. And if you want to lump in Arsenal, then I guess we can, but they're currently sitting in 5th. I'm kidding. Once again, I have to get my Arsenal jabs a little bit. I still think they have time to turn this around. But yeah, all seriousness, I do think Liverpool will be the happiest of the title contenders this match week, at least. Obviously, the Prem, we know how quickly that can change. And in a week's time, we could be looking at Liverpool as the 2nd place where City could potentially overtake them, or Liverpool could even further that lead at the top. We don't know. We'll have to wait and see. And wait and see we will, because that does bring to a close this episode of the Maple Footy Podcast. I do hope that you enjoyed. I know I spent a lot of time talking about the Canadian boys. That's my fault. But just a lot happened over the weekend with the Canadian boys, and I wanted to cover it all. So, or as much of it, at least, as I could. But yeah, big congrats to Liverpool for really maybe not looking the most impressive at times, but have really found a way to kind of dig results out. I do think as the season progresses, they will need to start playing better to maintain this form and these results. But, whatever's working at the moment right now, I guess keep doing that, right? Manchester City, I think, need to get maybe some of their big players performing again. Erling Haaland is still looking very good, just lacking some great service. As I said, guys like Phil Foden, Bernardo Silva, maybe not up to snuff so far. And then you got Arsenal sitting in 5th, who I think that's a little bit disappointing. Who would have thought Arsenal in 5th 10 weeks in? As I keep saying, early days, though, still just 10 games in. So Arsenal, within 2 weeks, could be back in 3rd or even 2nd. So we'll kind of see what happens. Obviously, we'll be monitoring it. We're covering it all. So keep watching football. Keep watching the Prem. And most importantly, keep watching Canadian football. And, of course, follow along the journey. I really hope you're enjoying these episodes so far. I'm having fun doing them. And, yeah, guys, that brings to a close this episode. And I do appreciate if you listened all the way through. Keep listening. Listen to the CPL playoffs that I just did, and keep a lookout for the CPL final coverage I'm going to be doing, as well as, of course, next week's Prem recap. And until next time, everyone, cheers.
And that was your Maple Footy Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Check my socials for any and all future updates at Official Sam Little on Instagram, where I am most active. And until next time, live, laugh, little.